What's up, my man? I'm here with Aaron Double A 7 Hassinger. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Doing great. Doing great. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, bud. Nice to see you, man. I wanted to chat with you a little bit. And have you seen what's going on in the news with the real estate National Association of Realtors and the $1.2 billion lawsuit?
I mean, I saw it. I'm not going to say I totally understand it. I didn't read it yet. But basically, aren't they saying that that the agents or the real estate companies didn't give the consumers the opportunity to negotiate the sales commission? Is that what it's about?
Yeah, it's in essence they're saying that the they didn't understand, or the real estate commissions were incentivizing agents to keep raising property values, raising commissions, keeping commissions higher than they should be, for the benefit of the real estate industry. So, basically that's what they're going with the angle, you know.
So, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, but hasn't it always been that real estate agents get paid based off of a commission that's set up front off of the sales price? I mean, isn't
Yeah.
that how all commission jobs work? So
Yeah.
obviously, like,
So I primarily work representing sellers, right? And I agree to a commission with a seller ahead of time, right? I say, look, I'm gonna market your property. I'm gonna give you this type of service, and I charge X, right? And depending on what I got to do, I might charge more, I might charge less. That side has always been negotiable, and certain levels of agents charge certain things, and they put properties on the multiple listing service board, right? At one point they said, they used to say you have to make an offering to another agent if you want to put this on the MLS, right? And well, because they wanted cooperation. They wanted cooperation between the agents if you were going to put it on that platform, and not just use the platform, to distribute your or syndicate your listing, right? They wanted it to be a platform of cooperation, right? So, and I'm not even saying I've always, been to where what are you actually doing for the property, not just putting it on the MLS, right? I think putting it on the MLS was always the lowest tier of service anyways, right?
it's the minimum that can be done, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the minimum that could be done. So when you're talking about this lawsuit of cooperation, well, yeah, certainly it's better to cooperate with other agents in the area because you're going to sell it much quicker. But that's the minimum, like that's the minimum that you could do for a property, is put it on the MLS to get it sold. And honestly, it's one of the biggest exposures because the MLS syndicates. So, the average agent doesn't have to go and put, properties in each website, right? Once you put it in the MLS, it syndicates out to everybody. So
I
everybody,
mean, it's an invaluable piece of technology to
great,
sell the house, right?
but if that's the only thing that you're relying on, then that's not the only thing that you're paying for with the services of a real estate broker, right? Um, but nonetheless, they're saying that we pumped up values, right, so that we could get paid more, which is absurd. We would never pump up values to fatten our pocket an extra couple dollars, right? Nobody I know has ever tried to, increase the price point past where they can so that they can make an extra 300 bucks on their paycheck, right? The only reason that we're, raising the price is because the market will bear it, right? And buyers will pay for it in a free moving market. But what's going to happen is that with all of this negative publicity real estate agents are going to get, more and more sellers are going to try to put their properties on the market themselves, right? Or try to go for sale by owners, direct to buyers. And the better negotiator is going to win.
Yeah. I mean, there's a statistic out there about how much more people generally sell their house for as a percentage if they use a real estate agent, right?
100%. 100%. I have solid data, right? I have solid data that can show you that if you're selling your property directly to a consumer that has contacted you, right, without proper exposure to the marketplace, to a wider marketplace, you're going to make less. You're going to make less than you would have if you would have expanded your marketplace. And by the way, even putting your property on the MLS, right, doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get the most for your property either.
No, and I can tell you from the mortgage broker perspective, I get I get contracts from time to time directly from a seller to a buyer with no real estate agents involved. And we sort of laugh about it at the office, but there's like a 50% fail rate on those because it's such a personal transaction, I think,
Yeah.
that the smallest little thing on the inspection, if the buyer says something to the seller about, the faucet or something, like I've seen them get triggered and like basically blow the whole deal up
Yeah.
over something, that the real estate agent plays a buffer in, really.
Right.
Um,
Well, it plays a buffer in a lot of things, right? So, however, how much you think it's worth to you to have that buffer, I could tell you having the buffer to tell somebody, hey, I'm not going to buy that, right? Or I need a credit for this, or I'm not going to give you a credit for that. Or in the negotiations of being able to play a middleman, right? Like these professional home buyer offices have a back office for a reason, right? Like if you go to a car dealership, the sales guy has a back office that he goes to get approval from his manager, right? And you're negotiating back and forth incrementally through a representative, right?
mhm.
And you're only buying a $30,000 car probably, and they're negotiating $1,000, and with homes you're negotiating into tens of thousands sometimes. So I just think that people that see negotiations day in and day out, right, are going to have an advantage if this gets a negative spin on the real estate industry, right? And people go out there to try to sell properties themselves. I think that negative spin is going to have a negative effect on people's bottom lines, because he who negotiates for a living is going to do a better job of negotiating a deal.
I gotta admit something. Okay.
Yeah.
Last year I built a house and I said, I'm not using a realtor. It's the hottest market ever. I'm gonna sell this thing by myself. So I paid a fee and I put it on the MLS. And I've been in the mortgage business for 16 or 17 years now. Like I've closed probably over 2,000 transactions in my career. But
So you know the process, right? Like
I know the process backwards and forwards.
right.
But until you do it, until I did it, I didn't really realize how much work is involved, because usually the calls for someone who wanted to see the house, they're coming in Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, like weird times, right? And you have
Yep.
to be on the ball, because they want to go, they have somebody ready, they want to go show the property. It's just it was a lot of organization for me. And I did this in a different state in North Carolina. I live in Florida. So the rules were different. Um, so I decided I probably wouldn't do that again. You know what I
And
mean?
you have a good grasp on the industry, right? You're a
I
person
was
that
just
has
cocky, I was
yeah.
cocky.
So, and it's maximizing the data that we have. Like I work for my clients, looking at how their property's stacking up to others, other homes, right? Like where are we getting the most traffic, right? How much traffic is on each website, right? Like how much is it, getting, reacted to on the MLS sites, right? I'm tracking all of this so that we can make informed decisions when it comes to price and marketing strategies and where it's going. Um, I don't think the average person that's going to sell their home is going to understand that, and because you know,
Well, the scariest thing from someone who's done it is like figuring out the pricing,
right, right,
because it's the everyday person. Like we don't know the values, this or that, how people are making offers. Things are pretty fluid, and are people giving seller contributions? Are they not? Like, what's going on in the market?
right,
You know.
right.
So let me ask you this: what do you think is going to happen? Because this judgment, I think, will probably go to appeal, right?
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
like, how much
100%.
money are they? We're talking about like over $1 billion.
Yeah, I think it's $1.3 billion. So that's a small
Is that a
economy.
fine, or is that like
It's a
restitution
settlement for restitution.
for
Minus.
all these people that sold their houses and had realtors?
Right, right. Supposedly. But the truth is that if it's going to change the industry one way or another, how far or drastic it's going to change it, I think it's going to be determined. But let's say that they eliminate buyer's agent fees. Right now, the person like cooperation. Now the person has to say, well, you can only deal with the listing agents, right? Or you have to hire your own representation like you would a lawyer, right? And pay them by the showing or by the hour or by the offer or whatever, right? Or you have to go with a dual agency within the office. Say that you come in to buy one of my listings, you call me on my listing, I say, okay, my office is the listing agent, but Michael is going to be the one that writes your offer and things like that, because Michael gets a salary from my office, right? So he's there to represent you and be your agent for this house, right? But if you go buy Tim's house down the street, Tim's listing, you're going to have to deal with Tim's people and Tim's process, right? So it might break up the industry into something like that, like like
Well,
a
what are the big guys like Zillow doing? Because I'm sure they're probably happy about something like
well, Zillow bought Zillow's a lender now. Zillow's the number 3 most traffic site. Zillow's a brokerage in all 50 states, I believe. And now they just bought Follow Up Boss, so that now that they're a CRM, they're going to be able to take over and make themselves a centralized brokerage. They could charge, a fee to put your property on Zillow, and, created
This
a
is the
really big
same
buy owner.
Zillow, right? This is the same Zillow that I sat there in their annual presentation and they promised the real estate agents for years, we're not trying to cut you guys out.
No,
We're,
yeah, they're the
and here they
same
are.
one, same ones that are posturing for a piece of the pie when this whole crumbles down. But
Well,
I
they
think
had,
it's a I think it's a disservice.
the last thing they rolled out was that cash offer system,
Yeah.
right? They failed terribly. Their stock price tumbled. They lost a ton of money with their automated AI
Well,
selling thing. So they're back to give it another crack at a different way, huh?
yeah. Well, I think that they're going to be eliminating a lot of brokerages, smaller brokerages, anyways. The flat fee brokerage system. They're gonna be pretty big. If this changes, right, where if there's going to be no value in buyer leads, you tell me what you think they're going to do.
Yeah, they're going to take them.
They're just going to take the leads. All the seller leads that they're selling and all the buyer leads that they're matching up to those listings. They're just going to list it, or they're going to co-broker with it. They'll figure out a way to make the smaller agents co-brokers of their platform.
Man, this is not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's up in the air, but I think that at the end of the day, it's not going to make things better for the consumer. if anything, the negative publicity that people are jumping on is going to make it worse for them. It's gonna put people in disadvantages. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. People, trying to do things by owner, or cutting out the 6% commission. They say they save 6% and lose 34.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they pay the buyer 34%, but they saved 6 so that they didn't pay an agent to represent their interests. Literally, that would be the mindset.
So if Zillow's doing it, then what? Realtor.com will probably be right behind them.
Probably with some sort of agreement or something like that. The all the money will still be in the listings and representing the sellers, which is where agents should be concentrating most of their time anyways, is either, acquiring listings or selling their own listings. Marketing their own listings is where agents need to be spending their time.
It's just, yeah, the Zillow, whoever is running these deals at Zillow, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of work,
Mm-hmm.
and like caring, like literally giving a crap. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That realtors go through. I see them, up late at night, taking those phone calls, like smoothing things over.
Yeah.
There's not going to be as much incentive for that stuff going
No.
forward.
No, you'll be dealing with, your attorney or your 9 to 5, salaried real estate agent for the firm that you're trying to put an offer in on it.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
what I think. That's what I think. I think that's probably going to be a model that it goes to. To me, I don't, do I
It's like
think
a monopoly, basically, on the
yeah,
transaction.
and
Really.
I think it's just because we're easy targets of negative publicity. So
Man, I never felt for you guys, but I feel for you guys now.
anyways, man. Hey, listen, it was great catching up. We're gonna leave it there, but we're gonna chat. We'll chat next week.
Yeah, we'll get the update next week. Good to see you, buddy.
Peace, brother, man.